So we have a buff event right now, and it's a bit hard to see because it's not in the account buffs like it normally is. There's no little fire thing here. The way you see it is in the Epic Dash. If you go to the Epic Dash event special buff, you can see all of the buffs that are active here. And part 2 is the one that is new. And this is easy to forget about because this is happening on weekends from Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. But also it's not happening every weekend. Some weekends it's not happening. So we're going to be going over an easier way to see when these buffs are happening. And then we also might as well talk about the best way for you to spend your energy during these events. So first up is on Cecilia bot now. You can see the Epic Dash times. So this is when the part 1 buff is active the entirety of Epic Dash. And then the part 2 buffs will be active on these specific days. So this is just a much easier way to track when these buffs are happening, because for one, I thought these buffs started on Saturday, but they start on Friday, so I missed a full day, which sucks to suck, I guess, but now I'll know for the ones afterwards, and you can see that it's not every week. After this one ends, the next weekend won't have any, and then the one after we will, and then another 2-week gap, and then only 1-week gaps between the last 3. So I'll probably just be checking this every single week because I'm not going to remember which week has it, which week doesn't. This is just a much easier way to check for me. And this was kind of the main reason I did this video, just to say that we could see the buffs here. But we should also talk about what the actual effects of the buffs are. The first most important thing I'll say is last year we had an issue where we had the wrong times on our stove post. I did check the Korean one, which is translated to English, but it is the same. Friday to Monday reset time for each server, 11:25, 8, 15, 22. 11:25, 8, 15, 22. Friday to Monday reset time for each server. So we shouldn't have any issues with that this time, thankfully. And this current event did start already, so it looks like this should all be correct. There's the part 1 buffs that are active the entirety of the event for everybody, the part 2 buffs that are active on certain weekends, and then there's also the new player and returner buffs. So starting off with the part 1 buffs, it's 50% hunt and 50% catalyst points for everybody, or additional on top. Double runes plus all spirit altars open, no one cares about Ogre's Armory, 10% Rift equipment drop rate increase, and then also free unequip. And then new players and returners will also have this active the entire dash. If you made a new account or you returned within the last 4 months, that's what counts you as a new or returning heir. So anybody who made an account during Origin will have these new player buffs. You have 30% EXP and 30% account EXP increase, and also double the conquest points from Arena for both new and returners. And then new players get 30% gold, 50% hunt crafting materials, and 50% catalyst points, while returners get 10% gold, 20% hunt crafting materials, and 20% catalyst points. So one thing, or I should talk about the part 2 first, which is just on these specific weekends. We get 30% EXP, 30% account EXP, 30% gold, 20% hunt mats, 20% catalyst points, and 20% rift drop rate. So for rift, it's only 10% in part 1. The biggest jump is in part 2. Normally during a buff event we only get 20%, and this entire 20% is in part 2. On the other hand, for hunt episode and runes, the entirety of the buff event is all in part 1, because normally during buff events we get 50%, 50%, and then 2x runes. So I would say that it's a bit complicated because of the EXP and gold increase here too, but generally Rift gets the biggest benefit from part 2. It's only 20% hunt and 20% catalyst during part 2, and rune gets no bonus at all, while hunt, catalyst, or episode, and spirit altar get most of their bonuses from part 1. Catalyst points also, it's straight up doubled if you're a new player. It's 100% point increase during part 1, 120% during part 2. And you do also have 30% EXP and 30% gold, but then if you farm during part 1, you won't get the 30% EXP and 30% gold from part 2. It kind of depends whether you want to prioritize the EXP and gold or the equipment from Rift, because Rift does have the best bonus during part 2. It's also worth keeping in mind that you at least want to do some level of Rift, because there's the otherworldly chests, which give you pretty good gear. It's guaranteed to be high rolled on its base stats. And also you can't get any flats. That's really, really nice. We definitely want to get these 4 chests at the minimum, I would say. And then for runes, if you need runes, do not farm them during part 2. All you're getting is 30% EXP and 30% gold. You should 100% be farming during part 1, because that is when you have the full 2x rune drop bonus. There's nothing else for runes. And then hunts, I would say probably farm during part 1 over part 2, I would say. Just because Rift gets the biggest bonus here. But yeah, this is a really good time for runes, just because it's active the entire time, and you don't actually have to farm runes during a buff event, or like during the part 2 buffs. You can just farm it during part 1 on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Catalyst points decides, it's up to you, really. I'll probably be farming Catalyst during part 1. And we should also talk about for Rift. So during the part 2 buffs, it's 10% plus 20% for 30% total. And people will ask about the Leaf event or the Overlord event, where we have the gearboxes. The way that those events have been run historically, typically the 30% Rift equipment drop rate is better than the Leaf/Overlord events. In terms of just like raw gear, if you're just looking for gear, Rift with the 30% buff is better. Overlord is better if you're specifically targeting like a set. So like if you're looking only for speed gear, then that's when the farming side stories become better. But generally, the 30% Rift is better for just gear in general, so this is definitely a really good time to spend your Leafs. Like, obviously, it's not as good as when we had the Carrot event with the energy refund, but I don't know if we can really rely on that to come back. Yeah. Also, just in general, like, I think especially for new players, or anybody with the new player buffs, because you have all this extra EXP and extra gold, and also extra catalyst points, I guess, this is a really good time to spend Leafs in general, even if you're not doing Rift, because you're getting pretty much, not double EXP, but double the boost. Double the boosted EXP and double the boosted gold that you would typically get from a buff event. So this event, the Epic Dash event, is definitely a very, very good time to just blow all of your Leafs. And I would stock up your mailbox energy as well during the part 1 buffs. Like, here, this is going to end, and then we have a full week of mail energy to stock up before dumping it after part 2 starts again. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, this video was mainly just for the timeline, honestly, because I'm not going to remember when these buffs are happening, so it's good that I can just check here. But I also figured I might as well talk about how we should spend our energy during the buff events for anybody who's not familiar. It's pretty much the same as it was last year, honestly. And there's also the Burning Pageant packs, I guess. If you want Leafs, you can buy these every single day over the entirety of the Epic Dash, so like 2 whole months. But that's it for this video, and I'll see you guys next time.